Interesting DeMeco Ryans today. We'll talk about that. Plus, it's dead. It's dead. You got to stop it. It ain't coming back anytime soon, and they need to adjust accordingly. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop.
You know what time it is? Yes, it is playoff time, and it's time for the Texans to adjust accordingly to the playoffs in a number of ways. We can talk about the offense; they need to adjust. Do you trust them to adjust? That's something that we've been talking about for a while. But I think the biggest adjustment that the Texans need to make um, it's time to grow up. It's time for this team to grow up. It's time for the Texans to grow up and reach the expectations that they set out before the season and reach the expectations that, quite frankly, this franchise has never gotten to. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. I was at media availability today. Interesting DeMeco Ryans, to say the least. We'll react to that. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. The greatness that is Sleeper, the best sports app in the game, the best DFS. Very simple concept. And it's more fun during the playoffs because you know everyone's going to play. You know the situation. But you put a stat out there, you say more than, less than. The more you hit, the better your odds are. My dad's been on fire. I think he's 5 for his last 6, with a half yard being the decisive one. We will trail those picks later on in the week. But if you're not on Sleeper, you can get the 100% match up to $100. Just use the promo code LOCKER and ride along. So the Texans, for the last couple of years, they've been able to kind of play the underdog card. They've been able to play the underdog claim. They were an underdog last year against the Chargers in the playoffs. I don't think too many people expected them to tap the brakes off the Browns like they did the year before. Nobody expected them to go to Baltimore and win. Nobody expected them to go to Kansas City and win, but that's dead. That's dead now. Like the underdog thing, the whole bit of nobody gave us a chance, it's dead. And quite frankly, I don't know that it ever existed this year. There's been a rally cry about, we started out 0-3 and nobody gave us a chance. I don't know. I think you got where you were expected to be. You got where you were expected to be. It's been awesome. It's been a nice win streak. But at this point, I know that the national noise doesn't really matter. But if you listen to the national noise, even an ounce of it, the Texans are this Texans team's getting a lot of love, specifically on defense. And if you look at the pedigree of the teams in the playoffs, the Texans are the second most battle-tested team in the playoffs. So the underdog thing is dead. And I don't know if it's awkward for DeMeco Ryans. I don't know if it's awkward for the Texans, but they're expected to go win in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the team that's the underdog. Pittsburgh is the team that nobody expects to win. Pittsburgh is the team that everybody wanted to play. I haven't met one person, not one, who would have rather played Baltimore than Pittsburgh. I haven't heard from one person in the chat that would have rather played Baltimore than Pittsburgh. And you hear Cam Hayward, the leader over there in Pittsburgh, say that they're playing with house money. So they are the underdog. Does it matter? No. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to have expectations. It's a good thing to head into the playoffs being expected to win on prime time, not just the appetizer, the crappy appetizer, the Saturday appetizer, the early game. It's a good thing, but it's also reality. The underdog stuff is dead. And I don't know if it's awkward for DeMeco Ryans or what. DeMeco had his media availability today. He's pretty intense. And there were somewhat awkward moments for DeMeco Ryans. somewhat awkward moments where DeMeco Ryans was questioning why people were asking about the Steelers. Well, here was DeMeco Ryans getting a little bit awkward about being asked about the Steelers, and I really don't know what exactly he expected. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, you guys are fired up by the Steelers, huh? Man, can't wait.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. Maybe DeMeco Ryans was trying to put out the notion that everybody's talking about the Steelers. I also think there's another element that DeMeco Ryans was also perhaps not really as up on the Steelers as he would have been a normal opponent. As much as he would be a normal opponent. Because DeMeco Ryans was watching the game last night at 11:30. Normally they probably have already moved on to Pittsburgh. They've already moved on to Pittsburgh or they've already moved on to their opponent. But at this point, with the layout of yesterday and the way that stuff was going, the Texans were watching Pittsburgh and then trying to figure out where they were going from there. Here is what DeMeco Ryans had to say about Pittsburgh before that awkward moment, and how he feels about facing the Pittsburgh Steelers as an opponent.
We're excited for the matchup versus the Steelers. Really great team. Nothing but a ton of respect, all right, for Coach Tomlin and the success that he's had in the league. How he's done it for such a long time. He's a guy who definitely I've always looked up to, always respected him. Always has his teams ready to go, well coached, physical outfit. Like they're gonna play tough. And it was really cool to see how they won that game last night. Just pure will, determination, found a way to win. Had things go their way. Aaron's done a good job there at the quarterback position. The defense has always played tough. So we're excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, he's excited about the opportunity. I think a lot of people were excited about watching this game and seeing what's going on. But the underdog stuff is dead. It's gone. It no longer exists. And I think that the job that Mike Tomlin has done is good. But I also think that as good as Mike Tomlin has been, it's kind of a situation where it's almost looked at as mediocrity and kind of a hellacious spot to be, where your ceiling, it feels like your ceiling is
getting into the playoffs with no real chance of being a contender. I don't feel like the people think about the Texans in that manner at this point. Let me know if the audio is straight now. Had a little StreamYard stuff, but I don't know what's going on with the mic right now. I'll check it. I don't know what the hell is. All right, it's good now. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why they changed the settings, but there we go. We're good to go. We're good. We're in playoff mode. I'm in DeMeco Steeler mode, but that's dead. That whole like awkward thing is dead. It's done, and now they got to figure it out. And I think the most encouraging thing from DeMeco Ryans, I think the most encouraging thing was DeMeco Ryans talking about the defense. He's not necessarily pleased with the way the defense is playing. And that's not something that we really think about. Like, we don't fathom that the Texans defense could be what holds them back. But there's been some vulnerability on big plays. And we saw it against the Raiders. We saw it against the Colts. And I know we can focus on the second half, but in the first half, they were giving up big plays as well. Here was DeMeco Ryans talking about the defense. I think this is a good thing because he thinks the defense can get better. Quite frankly, it needs to.
Our defense, they did a really nice job throughout the entire year of limiting points. Specifically, that's what makes you a good defense. Also, playing well in the passing game. But we didn't end the year well defensively. When it comes to giving up explosive plays, is really not good enough defensively. So we got to do a much better job if we want to advance and play longer in the playoffs. We got to play much better defense. So it didn't end how it should have.
Yeah, it didn't, and it's got to be better, the defense, and that's the reason that the defense has to be better is because you don't know that you can rely on the offense. I think it was very symbolic that Kaimi Fairbairn ties the record for most field goals in a season, and that's great for him. That's awesome. It doesn't take away from his ability, but it speaks as much as anything. It speaks to where this offense is at. And you look at some of the teams in that company, as we've mentioned, the 49ers in 2011 when they had Alex Smith, and they clearly weren't pleased with their quarterback. Derek Carr with the Raiders, I think in 2021. The Cowboys, when they went over half the season without Dak Prescott. And that kind of brings it back to the quarterback, CJ Stroud. And this is an interesting situation. If you would have told me 3 years ago that 2 years ago and change, nearly 3 years ago, that the Texans would head into the playoffs and they would be ahead of Josh Allen's team in the standings, Patrick Mahomes would not be participating, and Lamar Jackson would not be participating, I would feel like, damn, the Texans must have a hell of a quarterback advantage with CJ Stroud. We must have a hell of a QB advantage with CJ Stroud. If we're ranking the quarterbacks in the playoffs, I think this is one of the teams that you can say, yes, the Texans have the advantage. I don't know how much the mystique of Aaron Rodgers really matters at this point. We haven't seen him in the playoffs in a long time. We did see that comeback yesterday. But they definitely don't have a top 5 QB in the playoffs at this point based on performance. And there's a possibility that they won't have the QB advantage if they face New England. I think CJ's better than Bo Nix. Obviously, I think you can say that. I don't know that he's playing better than Trevor Lawrence right now. I think you would rather have CJ, but Trevor Lawrence is playing better. And I think Herbert outplayed him despite losing a couple of weeks ago. Does that mean he can't flip the switch? No, it doesn't mean that. But I think the quarterback situation is interesting. And I think it's just kind of telling. Like, naturally, your actions sometimes tell you how you feel and where you're at when it comes to the most important things. And we look at these teams, and for the most part, we judge them by quarterbacks. Denver, what's the first thing you say when you talk about Denver? They suck. Bo Nix sucks. He's not good. He hadn't done anything this year. New England, inexperienced. They haven't played anyone. Drake May's never been there. Trevor Lawrence. There's always a knock, but when you talk about this Texans team, like you're not really hearing very much about, oh yeah, well, CJ Stroud, you got CJ Stroud, you're going to have the QB advantage. Maybe it's just a different sign and a different formula and a different recipe for the Texans. Maybe he just has to be, he has to flip the switch and be okay. But the thing that should concern you about Pittsburgh is you're very dependent on your kicker. And this is not the place to be dependent on kickers. So we'll see what goes down with CJ Stroud. But I do find it very interesting that CJ Stroud is not really like one of the main talking points heading into this postseason. And I think it's a little bit telling. Let's go to the chat. Appreciate y'all for guiding me through the mic thing. Can't rest a roadcaster around here for nothing.
Swarm.
Team player 00 says this team is approaching historical football territory. The road to the Lombardi isn't always a sweet one, but it's the most convincing Texans team we've ever had. This is where we're supposed to be. Yeah, this is where they were supposed to be. 100% right. This is where they were supposed to be. They didn't surprise anyone by being in this position. I think many would be surprised by how the path looks. I'm not going to say it's an easy path. I'm going to say the path that many would be surprised at how the path looks to get there. But yeah, they're where they should be. They're where they're expected to be, and they have an opportunity to do a hell of a lot of things. It's just have there been warning signs that this might not end well? They damn sure can't play this underdog card. And I also wonder about Arthur Smith. I wonder about Aaron Rodgers. The last time that Arthur Smith faced DeMeco Ryans defense, Desmond Ridder had 300 plus yards passing. There were some injuries for the Texans, but again, let me say it again. Desmond Ridder had over 300 yards passing. That was the year he got fired. Aaron Rodgers on Halloween. We saw that. So these guys have experience. DeMeco has playoff experience too. But Arthur Smith has been on an AFC championship run. Aaron Rodgers has been around the block. DeMeco defense, I don't think he's going to get fooled. I don't think the Texans defense is going to get dominated. But that's an interesting chess match. And then you factor in the Nick Caley thing. Are they going to be able to do enough? Are they going to be able to score enough points? What does that look like? This is also the other thing about this team is this is a really this is a really battle-tested squad. The Texans. And there's battle-tested pieces on the Steelers, but they haven't really done it together, which I think does matter. Does the experience matter? Here was what DeMeco Ryans had to say about the experience factor when it comes to the playoffs.
Our guys know how to win football games. And that's so weird. That doesn't change, right? Because we're in the playoffs. We've been in that mode for a while now. You know, every game has been important for us. Everything has been about, all the marble. That's what it's been. That's our season. That's what it's been for us to fight back, to get into a spot, to even have this opportunity, right, to play in the playoffs. So our mindset is not changing now that we're in.
He says the mindset's not changing now that they're in, and I guess it shouldn't. I mean, I guess you don't want to make them too nervous, but I do think the urgency or whatever Nick Caley's doing, I know that he trusts his process. If you put up the performances, some of the performances that Nick Caley has had in primetime, if you put those up in the playoffs, I don't give a shit if you're playing the Steelers. I don't give a shit if you're playing any team in this bracket. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. The other concern, you talk about the offensive line. How are they going to be able to handle this? It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. It's going to be by far the rowdiest atmosphere that they've had. And this is the other thing that I think we really I really want to emphasize this point, because this hasn't been brought up yet. But I really want to emphasize this point. And I brought this up the week after. This was a month ago. After the Kansas City game, where there was a lot of issues when it came to pre-snap, we saw the delay of game, out of a timeout. We saw a lot of instances. This was where they had the -2 yards, and I think they ended up with, it was under 50 yards in the second half. And you heard Nick Caley go up there, and what did old Nick say? Nick.
Nick.
He said, We really got to work on our procedure. We got to work on our pre-snap. We got to get the organization up. He said that's something that we really got to improve and we got to work on. And this was leaving Arrowhead. This was leaving cold ass Arrowhead in Kansas City, which is one of the loudest atmospheres in all of pro football. And what did I say when he said that? I said, we won't know whether they've improved that until the playoffs. Look at who they played since then. They played the Raiders. They played the Cardinals. They went to Los Angeles, one of the worst home field advantages in professional sports. And then they faced the Colts at NRG. They had 3 home games against shitty teams, and they played a good team, but it was at a stadium that is far from a home field advantage. So that is something that will be tested. And there's we don't know if they've improved that from Kansas City. You can't measure it against anything that we've seen. So that's another element to keep an eye on when it comes to the Texans. They're right now a 3-point favorite. If I were betting, I would bet on the Texans to cover. I absolutely would. But we know better than anyone. Sometimes we're a little bit too close to the situation. This is a flawed team. And the biggest flaws that they've had have not been tested, significantly tested. And now, during that stretch, you've seen the defense struggle a little bit. So you kind of sprinkle all that in. Now, DeMeco Ryans will look at it as we know how to win football games. I don't disagree with that. You know how to win football games. But everyone knows it's a little bit different in the playoffs, including DeMeco. He knows the deal.
Those details and those fine, techniques that we talk about all the time. If you're not on it, you get exposed. You can end up in a pretty tough situation that's harder to climb out of. So we know these games they're going to be tight. They're going to be tough. Everybody's in the playoffs for a reason. Everybody's earned that opportunity to get into the playoffs. So for me, it's everybody just has to tighten up on what we're doing. Like offensively, defensively, special teams wise, we all have to tighten up. Starting with us as coaches, we got to tighten up to make sure we're all on the same page and make sure that our players, everybody knows exactly what they should be doing and how to get it done.
He's right. He's 100,000% right about that. The question I just have is, do you trust him to do that? I trust him. I trust DeMeco. Do you trust the offense to do that? It's going to be a big test. It's unfortunate that we couldn't see whether or not they could pass it. It's going to be a big test. They won't practice this week till Thursday. So they're not, there's no media availability in the next 2 days. That gets kind of pushed back. So that's how we look at that. Entertaining stuff on the chat right now. I want to bring this to the forefront. This is funny.
Swarm.
Colston says, hi, Landry. Realistically, how many points does the Texans need to win the game? The magic number right now for the Texans is like 20 when it comes to like the ongoing stat of how many points. I mean, I would say 24, you feel really, really good against Pittsburgh. But usually it's a little bit above 20, I'd say. Rich Boy Jay says, is there any chance Kaylee has been saving stuff for the playoffs? So there's a chance. There's a chance. I mean, it's not like he's really had to pull out all the stops. You look at the one game where you felt like maybe the Texans would have to sweat. I mean, he had his hottest start of the season against the Chargers. Now it kind of fell apart after that. I don't know if it was necessarily his fault or the quarterback's fault, but he pulled out the stops. Is there a chance he's saving something? Who knows? What would the wrinkle be? Is he going to free Jalen Knoll? Maybe. I mean, I don't know that he had to pull out all the stops in 3 of those games. One of my favorite interactions on the chat I just saw. Bevo Boxer said, CJ equals Trent Dilfer. Blue Boy 9 said, Comparing CJ to Trent Dilfer is a tad disrespectful, LOL. And then Bevo Boxer said, disrespectful to who? Question mark. That might be a little much. That might be just a titty tad much. Wait, are we talking about the Steelers again?
Yeah, you guys are fired up by the Steelers, huh? Man, can't wait.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, dude. Yeah, sure. What about the guys on the edge, though? TJ Watt, I wonder what he felt like today. They have some good guys on the edge. DeMeco's aware of that, regardless of his awkward stuff. Here's DeMeco talking about the guys on the edge for Pittsburgh.
Great pass rush. Both guys, TJ Watt, one of the all-time, sack leaders in the NFL for a reason. Great bloodline. He had a guy who can teach him how to do it, and his brother JJ. So he's a really good player, good pass rush. Also Highsmith. Highsmith doesn't get enough credit, I think, for the production and how disruptive he is as a pass rusher as well. So, you want to play good defense, you have to have two good pass rushers, and they have that.
There you go. They do. And I expect Trent Brown to be back. If TJ Watt were 100%, it would maybe be a little bit different, but I think you can kind of avoid him. I also think there could be some elements of maybe Nick Caley's waiting to get Woody Marks involved in the pass game. There's been a couple times where Woody Marks has been streaking down the field and he just hasn't gotten hit. So maybe there's that element when it comes to possibilities of what the Texans can do and what the OC can do. I just don't like the Nick Caley thing is it's not even uncertain at this point. You kind of know what it is. And I don't mean this like, I don't want to add to the Trent Dilfer's TJ Stroud thing, but if the defense is playing good and if DeMeco has the defense playing good, then, Mark Sanchez went to 2 AFC title games and Blake Bortles went to 1. So the expectations really won't be overly high. But this is definitely the time. This is the time for CJ and DeMeco. I don't know that it gets any easier than this. It's going to be difficult, but I don't know that it gets any easier than this. I don't know that it gets laid out like this. Like the roster building definitely becomes more difficult. As you start to pay players, you have less draft picks. They've had it pretty good. DeMeco and Caserio have had it pretty good in their time. Like as far as the assets that they've had to build the roster, they've had it pretty good. It does not get any easier. They do draft well, but it does not get any easier. This is a golden opportunity. It's laid out. Like worst case scenario, if you beat Pittsburgh, like what's your nightmare? Is there any possibility that you're scared of if they win this game? No. And if you win that game, you're further than you've ever been as an organization. This is as good of an opportunity as they'll have. They know that. DeMeco knows that. There's urgency. He doesn't know much about Pittsburgh, but this is a team that's expected to win this game. This is the most confident and the most substance that a Texans team has had. And it's a matter of, can they handle the pressure? You're not chasing anyone special. You're not chasing anyone special. Like you look at this outside of Josh Allen and the Bills, you're as battle tested. Like Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. It wasn't with this Broncos team. Bo Nix has had less success on this stage than CJ Stroud. Drake May's never been here. Mike Vrabel's had success. It hasn't been with his team. Liam Cohen, this is his first year coaching. He's never been in this situation as a head coach. Trevor Lawrence hasn't had as much success as CJ Stroud in this situation. Aaron Rodgers has, but Aaron Rodgers has a gray beard and he's slow. And I'm not sure he's as smart as he once was. Chargers, they're playing with house money just like the Steelers. So the expectations are there. This is nobody expected us or anything like that. You're where you should have been, and the stuff around you is set up to where you have an opportunity. So that's what you got to do, and that's how they got to approach it, and that's what they got to handle. And maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable for them to not be able to use that rally cry, but quite frankly, at this point, it doesn't exist. You're expected to win this game. And I fully expect them to win this game. Shout out to Texans Turf, Dan the man. My backyard is beautiful. Always green, always clean. Neighbors jealous. A lot of neighbors have hopped on board. A lot of viewers have hopped on board because they know when I say I was a customer before the partnership with Dan, they know I'm telling the truth. He'll take care of you. He'll handle the drainage. It doesn't matter how big the house is, how small the house is. He's going to treat you like a pro. He's going to customize it. He's not going to try to upcharge you. And his staff is going to treat everyone the same, which is really all you can ask for when it comes to the turf. So shout out to Dan the man. He can do it. I promise you. And the turf shopping, it's very frustrating. But when you go to Dan, it's not. He gets it done. Best thing you'll do for your home. TexansTurf.com. Shout out to Dan the man.
Swarm.
St. Louis Rebel says, no excuses, man. Texans playing the easiest AFC team in the first round. Yeah. There's not any, you're talking, it's not any, there's not anyone, I would not be surprised. And maybe there'll be that one person.
Yeah, you guys are fired up by the Steelers, huh? Man, can't wait.
Yeah, you're playing the Steelers, man. Yeah, can't wait. Yeah. God, that was awkward. It gets worse and worse each time. I don't know, like when they put the panelist picks up there, I don't know that there's going to be too many teams that are going to be, too many people that are going to be picking the Steelers. Maybe there's like one. There's not going to be teams picking the Steelers. This is on ESPN, right? Monday Night Football. They're going to have Ryan Clark, Kelsey, Van Pelt, and whoever the hell else up there. They're most of them are going to pick the Texans. Ryan Clark played for Pittsburgh. He might pick the Steelers. It's not going to be it's expected. That's what you got to do. Period, point blank, end of story. Now, maybe there's some of that holy water that people keep talking about. The priest, I guess, with the Steelers. Aaron Wilson, the alpha. He's in playoff mode.
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
This was beast mode right here. So Aaron asked DeMeco about the this kind of loosened DeMeco up a little bit. He asked him about the holy water. Got a little smile out of old DeMeco.
See the priest with the holy water with the very end.
What's the question?
Did you notice that?
What's the question?
Make a makeup. He's not
Follow up to Kim's question a little bit when you talk about turn the page, get ready for the energy, you guys.
The alpha's crazy, man. The alpha's crazy. The whole, I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's hear DeMeco talking about Aaron Rodgers. He played against him. Now he's coaching against him. Here's what DeMeco had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
He's done it at a high level for a long time because he's probably one of the smartest quarterbacks to play the game. Does a really good job, understands defense really well. But, for us, that doesn't change. We got to go out. It's about the guys that are playing. Like, it's about our guys just playing together collectively, going against a really good opponent.
Yeah, collectively, all that, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that the Texans have going for them is they're healthy. It's a healthy team. This is a really, 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 really healthy team, relatively speaking. Now, there's certain things you can point to, but as far as healthy, this team's healthy. I don't count Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was never expected to play. They knew that. They knew that for a long time that he wasn't going to play, regardless of how weird it got. But this is a very healthy team, relatively speaking. You're depleted at safety. But, we're talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who you cut, and then M.J. Stewart went down, and Jalen Reed went down. That's a day 3 pick, and that's a special teams guy. All your studs are healthy. Kamari Lassiter, iced up. Derek Stingley hasn't missed a game. Didn't have to play the second half the other day for the most part. Kalen Bullock, good to go. Aziz Alshire, good to go. Henry Toto, good to go. All the DNs, good to go. Your starting D tackles, good to go. You can nitpick and say not the backup D tackles aren't there, but they've done a good job of filling those guys in because that's kind of what DeMeco does. That's kind of his wheelhouse, his specialty. Offensive line, healthy. No significant missing pieces. Trent Brown, iced up, gonna play. Tight ends, Cade Stoverback, Dalton Schultz, healthy. Brevin Jordan, you never really had him. You don't know what he was going to be anyways. All your receivers, healthy. We'll see what happens with Jawar Jordan. I don't put a lot of stock to a guy not returning when the starters didn't even play in the second half. Running backs, healthy. It's a healthy team. That's another thing. Like when you talk about a golden opportunity, you talk about the way that things are laid out, you talk about being where you were supposed to be. They are healthy. It is hard to imagine being this healthy. They haven't been this healthy before in the DeMeco Ryans era. They've had bigger obstacles when it comes to the path. They haven't been this healthy. Year 1 and 2, the wide receiver position was completely depleted. Just depleted. Especially last year. Last year, you didn't have Tank Dell or Stephon Diggs. Year before, you didn't have Tank Dell. Noah Brown was banged up. You've been missing key pieces on defense at certain points. No one's going to be fully healthy, but I would bet that when it comes to a healthy team heading into the playoffs, I don't know if it's their performance staff. I don't know if it's just sometimes you get lucky. This is a healthy squad. Does that mean there's not flaws? No. But as far as health, goodness, whoever's in charge of that, whatever the hell's happening, whoever you're praying to, whatever the hell it is, it's working. And this is an incredibly healthy team at an insane level. D-Town raised on Z chat.
Swarm.
Says, honestly, this year might be the easiest route for Texans to get to the Super Bowl. If they can't get it done this year, then I don't know when. Look, if they can't at least get to where they've never been this year, then that's a fair question to ask. And obviously it's going to depend what it looks like. I think we know what it looks like if this team loses. I think we know what it looks like. We've gotten hints. We've gotten hints. You know why? Because we practice the Jeff Van Gundy philosophy. We practice the Jeff Van Gundy philosophy around here. Don't ignore in victory what you would not ignore in defeat. We practice the Van Gundy philosophy here. We've seen it. It's the offense. It's maybe the defense giving up big plays. We know what it looks like. We haven't seen much of it lately. It's been damn near 3 months since they've lost. It's been forever. But we know what it looks like. It damn sure isn't ugly. It's not like the Texans are going to be in jeopardy of getting blown out. This isn't a team that's capable of getting blown out, right? For sure not against the Steelers. But we know what it looks like. DeMeco says they know how to win football games. He's right. But do they know how to win playoff football games? That's gonna be the thing. They got a lot of weapons. They got a lot of weapons. I think, quite frankly, this offensive line, that they've been coached up. They're flawed. They've been coached up. But the biggest thing to watch, and this is the thing that I really want to emphasize for this team heading in the playoffs, and this is the biggest concern. And we got to go back to what we said after the Kansas City game. They will not be tested when it comes to dealing with the noise, the functionality of the offense. They were not going to be tested since Kansas City. And I think we can all agree, maybe we can't, but I think a realistic person could have watched that Kansas City game with the way that the offense was functioning and realize that if Andy Reid doesn't go for it, the Chiefs probably win that game. If you looked at how the Texans offense was performing, how they were functioning, the delay a game out of the timeout, the miscommunications, all that, I think we can realistically say if Andy Reid doesn't go for that, the Texans lose that game and probably still get into the playoffs. And a lot of times, whenever something happens, you can work to improve it. You can go from 1 week to the next, and you can look to improve it. Like if CJ Stroud isn't taking care of the football 1 week, you can see it whether the game's in fucking Denver, whether it's in Houston, whether it's in the backyard. You can see that. You can't duplicate having to function as an offense in a loud-ass playoff-like environment, which is what that was in Kansas City. So we'll see how the offensive line passed that test. I don't even know how you practice it. I've always found that amusing when, and I'm sure there's ways to do it, but you can't fully duplicate that. Like you can't fully duplicate what it's going to sound like, what it's going to feel like, what players' natural nerves are going to feel like when you go against the Pittsburgh Steelers, or you're in Kansas City and it's cold as hell. It's 20, 30 degrees. You got all this noise going on. You're already kind of an offensive line it's not like it's the most talented O-line, so you got to overcome that. That's tough. You have a quarterback, though, who on the big stage has flipped the switch before. But are they going to be able to protect him? You don't have to do a lot. That's the other thing. In this situation, you don't have to do a lot. You don't need 30 points. This isn't going to be some sort of shootout. Your defense travels. I know we talk about cold weather a lot. I think there have been years where Buffalo, they're used to the cold weather, so they can get it done. But I think there have been times where Buffalo's not even built for their own climate. I think that you can make a case that the Texans, the superpower that they possess is built more for the cold climate. They're built for any climate, but the defense is going to travel. The defense is going to do its job. Like the defense, I think, actually benefits from cold weather. We'll see about the offense. They did a good job in the first half against Kansas City, but then it was a complete meltdown. But what is the atmosphere like? How do they handle it? That was a question that they said they wanted to work on. You can't work on that. Can't work on that. Do you still trust the O-line? How much do you have to trust the O-line? The other thing is Woody Marks. I think Woody Marks is someone to keep an eye on. I think the rest that Woody Marks got, it's paid off. And in these games where there's a small margin for error, I think we live in a world where you look at Woody Marks' stats and it's like, man, well, that wasn't overly impressive. There have been games where Woody Marks has averaged less than 3 yards per carry, and I've said, damn, that was a hell of a performance. He's running better than his stats. The Chargers game comes to mind. He runs out of the end zone. They should have just taken it to the house, but he runs out of the end zone and avoids the Chargers trying to get points. At the end of the game, he ices it. He had the big drive that led to the Higgins touchdown, which came off a play action after he had 30-plus yards this week. he ran hard and iced the game at the end of the Chargers game. Like the way that Woody Marks has run has been solid. I want to see how he performs in the playoffs. I could easily see him being that mother trucker in the playoffs. He's built like that. I want to see what the dynamic is with Marks and Jordan in the playoffs. What do they do? Hopefully there's a little bit of creativity and it's not just handed to Woody Marks and run into a damn wall. That's possible with old Nick. But I think Woody Marks, when it comes to guys just potentially being that mofo in the playoffs, that dude's got a lot of potential. That's a bad SOB right there. And he's running really, really well. DeMeco Ryans agrees.
Throughout the year, I feel like he's gotten better with the more reps that he's getting. And in game, I feel like Woody, he does a better job the more times he touches the football, right? He's always going forward, always gaining positive yards, and that patience comes with, setting up your blocks. Right? You have to do a good job setting up your blocks to put you in position to make guys miss at certain times, and Woody has done a good job of that.
It's fascinating how good he runs between the tackles. If they add another back, it's a problem with what Woody Marks is doing. But as far as in the playoffs, I think that there are some guys who just, you look at him and it's like, okay, this guy's gonna. I always use the term, it's probably a drinking game at this point, but flip the switch. Woody Marks is way high up on that list. And he's not dependent on a lot of things going well to get the ball in his hands. We know Nico's going to be ready. Sometimes the QB doesn't have time. Sometimes there's a tension. You can take a receiver out of the game if you decide to. But Woody Marks can get the ball in his hands in some way, shape, or form. It'd be nice to see the pass game become an element of that. But Woody Marks he's been that dude for the Texans. He has that semblance of toughness. I think the manner in which he runs the ball, it just makes this offense look tough. And I don't think anyone thought that heading into the season without Joe Mixon that this was going to be an offense that had a tough identity. I think of all the possibilities, I could see Woody Marks being the guy that flips the switch. He's someone to really keep a close eye on in the playoffs, and he's your RB. How are they going to handle Nick Chubb? What are they doing with Nick Chubb? I think Jawar Jordan's going to play. I don't think it's too serious. Don't know though. But how is Nick Chubb gonna? Are they even going to activate him? Are we heading towards not active Nick Chubb? British Brooks look pretty good. I think the rookies will factor in. Rookies all got big play potential. Texans did a hell of a job. You look at what they needed heading into the 2024 draft when they added Lassiter and Bullock, and then what they needed in this draft. The offense isn't quite revamped. There's still issues. There's still shortcomings. We don't know if the X's and O's are great, but I think the Jimmies and Joes are solid. X's and O's versus Jimmies and Joes. These guys got potential. These are long-term pieces. These are long-term pieces, and it took a while. I also wonder how they use Jalen Noel. What if Christian Kirk's a hero? Couldn't you see Christian Kirk like scoring a touchdown in the playoffs after being MIA? I'm kind of kidding. Because I know how the chat acts about Christian Kirk. Y'all are over it. It had so much potential. Could you imagine if this was like if Christian Kirk was just setting the world on fire? This had so much potential.
Captain Kirk, can you save me? Captain Kirk, I want to have your baby.
It just hadn't hit. It just hadn't hit. I think people feel about Christian Kirk this year the way they did about Dalton Schultz last year. It was good to see Schultz get going last game too. He's going to be important. Very important. One of the more important elements. How does Dalton Schultz look? You're going to have those towels waving. You're going to be off 4 straight days. Thursday, Friday, you got the CFP. Friday, you got Spankies with your boys of SNL out there, Sharpstown. We'll see you there on the 9th, getting ready for the playoffs. And then Saturday, you got 2 NFL games. Sunday, you got 3. And then Monday Night Football. It'll be nice. Good time to be alive. Mike Tomlin versus DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, very, very DeMeco Ryans, very, very hardo about the Steelers. Awkward, man. This makes me cringe.
Yeah, you guys are fired up by the Steelers, huh? Man, can't wait.
There you go. Yeah. Right, you opening for Kevin Hart this week? Or is it Richard Pryor? Rest in peace. Are the Texans built for the playoffs? Some teams are built for the playoffs. How are the Texans built for the playoffs? I would say defense travels. Defense travels and they're on the road. So I would say based on that, they're built for the playoffs. You got an experienced quarterback. Played in some big games in CJ Stroud. Built for the playoffs. Not built for the playoffs, you rely too much on kicking. You rely way too much on kicking. That's a problem. You have an offensive coordinator who has issues. They haven't really been able to test their issues post Kansas City. That's a point I'm hammering home. We saw it against Seattle. We saw it against Kansas City. This is going to be an atmosphere right there in that same mix. Maybe rowdier, probably colder in that grass. But I think this team is built for the playoffs. This is going to be this is CJ's opportunity too. Like the slate is wiped clean. The optimism's not high when it comes to CJ. I think people think CJ can be good enough. I don't know about elite performances, if you feel that. I also wonder if CJ is going to use his legs. I don't expect him to run design runs with him or anything like that, but CJ's going to have to use his legs. He did it very well against Kansas City last year at the end of the season. We all remember the Ohio State game where they lost to Georgia. He's going to have to use his legs. We saw a little bit of it the other day, but for the most part, it's been non-existent since the concussion. But in the playoffs, he's going to have to figure it out. Slide, dive, do what you got to do, but those first downs and those opportunities you're going to have to take advantage of. Hell, Aaron Rodgers had to do it yesterday. One time it looked like shit. The other time, he gutted it out. Looked like a 14-year-old golden retriever doing it, but he gutted it out. CJ's going to have to use the legs. Too much hesitation on that. It's going to have to happen. It has to be a part of what he does. He's not a world-class athlete at the quarterback position. Matter of fact, he's probably the worst scrambler besides Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position. Yeah, that's not even debatable. Yeah, he's the worst scrambler besides Aaron Rodgers. But he's capable and he's got to do it. On the AFC side, I'm not even looking at the NFC side. It'd probably be maybe even on the NFC side if you just go person by person. Yeah, he's probably the second least mobile quarterback in the playoffs. CJ, that's crazy, isn't it? Especially with what you saw at Ohio State and everything. I think that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Not that it matters, but yeah, Lawrence is more mobile. Josh Allen's more mobile. Drake May's more mobile. Herbert's more mobile. He's more mobile than Stafford. Okay, so Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, not Bryce. Darnold, don't know, same maybe. And then Purdy's more mobile. Hurts, Caleb, and Love. So, yeah, he's a bottom 3 when it comes to mobility. He's there with like the 40-year-olds. You gotta flip the switch, brother. You gotta flip the switch. He's capable. It's not that he's not capable. You just gotta flip the switch. You gotta forget about the. It's easy for me to say. You gotta forget about the concussion. You gotta figure it out. They're gonna need that. They're gonna need every bit of that. And I don't even expect him to do it in the regular season. I'm fine with him not doing that. There haven't been times where he's had to do it. Actually, last Halloween, when they faced the Jets, I thought he was actually really good scrambling. I think that might have been his career high. But in the playoffs, you got to take advantage of it whenever you have the opportunity. And there's a lot of opportunities with this squad. He's really, really good. You saw the game the other day with the Steelers. They seem kind of vulnerable to the big play off script. That's something that CJ Stroud can do really well. It's something that CJ can do really well. We see him and Nico on the same page. But he's got to be able to do it. Brandon Scott says he's only more mobile than the guys born in the 80s. This is a fact. Any quarterback born class 1989, CJ Stroud is not more mobile than. It's true. It's funny because it's true. He is basically a millennial hustler. He can go hustle the millennials in a race, but he's not a fast guy. He's got to be willing though. He's got to be willing. He ain't slow. He can flip a switch. I've said this with CJ. I could see CJ Stroud, and this is the best way that I can explain my feels about CJ Stroud heading into the playoffs. I could see CJ Stroud flipping the switch, drink, and being awesome, or I could see CJ Stroud wetting the bed. I could see CJ Stroud being just good enough. There's nothing that is unimaginable for me when it comes to CJ Stroud. And I think that's really been the CJ Stroud experience for the last 2 years. Year one, for the most part, we saw CJ Stroud really at his best. There was never really like there were some games worse than others. The Carolina game comes up, but like for the most part, it was just like really, really good. It was like house money, whatever. But from year 2 and 3, it's been like that. There have been elite, there have been okay, and then there's been really, really bad. I think you could see that in the playoffs. Now, in his defense, I don't think he's ever been really bad in the playoffs. Like when the Texans have lost, I haven't watched a game and said, damn, they lost that one because of CJ. Matter of fact, I thought he played his ass off against Kansas City last year. He had no receivers. Quite frankly, I think the Fairbairn missed extra point after that drive to start the second half that should have tied it. I think that kind of sucked the life out of him. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was good enough against the Chargers. Against Cleveland the year before, he was good. And against Baltimore, I mean, they were just outmanned. The offense didn't do shit. They were just outmanned. They didn't have receivers. Didn't really have anything on offense. The O-line was terrible. He was roughed up. But there's certain quarterbacks where you're like, man, this guy whenever it matters most, he just doesn't come up big. I mean, CJ's been with this defense and with these opponents, there's no reason to not believe that CJ can't be good enough. But we have seen some bad moments really recently. We've seen a few bad moments. With the defense, like I could see the defense being elite, incredible. I could see them being all right. Terrible? No. There's no possibility there. But the CJ Stroud thing, there's just a wide range of possibilities based on what we've seen. But is there any quarterback that you feel awesome about? Outside of like Josh Allen's had some good moments. He's gone down in glorious defeat. Kind of like CJ has. But this is the best opportunity CJ Stroud has had. It's the best opportunity DeMeco's had. And there's a number of things. This is a good question. Scott asks on the chat, who do you want to win, Jags or Bills? Jags. Get Buffalo out of there. I don't care what they've been. I don't care how much the Texans have owned them. Get Buffalo the fuck out of the playoffs. Just get them out. Fortunately, if you face them, it'll be in the AFC Championship game. But if you're facing them in the AFC Championship game, that means they've gone on the road and won 2 playoff games, and they're probably playing pretty damn good ball. You're probably playing pretty good ball too, but if they go on the road, win 2 playoff games, they're playing pretty good ball. Give me the Jags. All day. Going to Jacksonville? Ain't too much. So yeah, I would say Jags. I know some people may disagree. Probably hard for people to root for. I'm not like yelling Duval or anything like that. But that's just what that is. Try Sleeper for the first time in the playoffs. Download the Sleeper app. Use the promo code LOCKER. Get 100% up to $100. We will trail the picks later this week. Trail Pops' picks. He's been on fire. He's been on absolute fire. Use that promo code LOCKER. Play the game that everyone's been playing. The DFS. Higher than, lower than. One of my favorite games to play. Appreciate everyone for helping me out on the mic earlier today. Damn Roadcaster. This was the 3rd stream of the day, though. So sometimes it'd be like that. You know how it is at night. Y'all know this is a little bit different vibe at night than during SNL.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
That's how it goes. It's a little different vibe. But I appreciate y'all for looking out for me. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hope to see you at Spanky's this Friday. It's going to be crowded. If McLean's going out there, it's going to be crowded. I think we might fill the whole restaurant this week. It's going to be fun. And there's going to be a CFP game going as well. So subscribe, like, right along. Let me know what I said that was stupid. Let me know what you agree with. And enjoy the playoffs. Texans off tomorrow. They're pushing everything back a day with the week. And my God, it's going to be nice to watch the playoffs without having to really watch the Saturday. The Saturday early game sucks. Let's just be honest. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Bye-bye.
Every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do.